Good evening from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. It's been a couple of days since I read you a story, or read you Elliot Perlman's 7 Types of Ambiguity. But I've had a lovely day today, and yet another lovely day. And I went to Cleveland Point with my friend Lynn, a 37-year friendship, and we actually had lunch at Alex Hills Hotel, which was delicious and salubrious, and then we went for a coffee to Cleveland Point, to our favourite coffee shop that literally perches, I think it's called the Lighthouse Restaurant. Anyway, it literally perches right on top of the ocean. When it's a bit rough weather and stormy, the waves splash up over the restaurant, and I love that. I love the wildness, I love the sea. So I posted a video earlier on my YouTube channel of my stalking a pelican that was fending off the seagulls, and it was just a lovely afternoon. And then when I came back to Lynn, her neighbour, Annette, who's very kind and generous to me, gave me a huge bag of clothes that I sorted through, and I kept the ones I wanted. So I've got, new clothes, new second-hand clothes, but they're always in really good nick. So you might as well say, pretty much as good as new. And so I'm washing those as we speak, and I've hung some up out in the line. So spoilt Mama T. Excuse me, my eyes are a bit sore, a little bit weary, but yes. What's there to complain about? Pelicans and nice lunches and outings and new clothes, and came home. My birdies were very happy to see me, and life's just lovely at the moment, really lovely, and I'm very grateful and contented and happy about it. So I thought I would continue reading 5 Types of Ambiguity, and I've got here that we're up to chapter 13. I'll just check on my iPhone on my YouTube channel, because yes, that is indeed correct. I read 10, 11 and 12 the other day, 2 days ago. So that's correct. Just wanted to make sure before I launched into my reading for you. Beautiful, soulful, wonderful people of Earth, my YouTube subscribers, my friends and family who participate on my YouTube channel, my likers and commenters, and those who find these missives across the ether of time and space, wherever they end up. So greetings to you also, all sentient beings and interdimensional entities across this wide cosmos. Peace and greetings of joy and delight, self-determination and courage, integrity and honour, and the occasional bit of mischief, just so that we know we're still alive, but nothing harmful, people of Earth. Nothing harmful. I don't like harmful things or people, or other entities for that matter. So this is a safe place. This is Sacred Space, Titania's Realm, under the auspices of the Forest Fairy, Queen Titania, and her husband, King Oberon. Perfectly serious about that. My channel is dedicated to the good folks, and as you all know, you don't dare mess with the good people. Anyway, I wonder what 3i Atlas is making of all of this. I'm told in a video yesterday that it's sentient, and it is indeed picking up our messages and responding accordingly. So there you go. Interdimensional ones. Are they fairy or some other even more advanced species that we haven't even begun to imagine? It's a wonderful thought, isn't it? Something greater and bigger than us mere human mortals that might just whip us all into line, or alternatively gift us more potentiates and greater knowledge and all wonderful things, like when Quetzalcoatl visited in ancient Aztec times. Just don't know, do you? Anyway, it also might just be nonsense and a comet floating past and have no real significance other than the stories we make up about it and have all the trust the scientists and a bit of a knickered frenzy and got all their knickers and a knot over it. One doesn't know, does one? But it's fun to contemplate, and I'm curious by nature. I like to contemplate various things. Sometimes it's, just out of academic interest. It doesn't matter if it's all that particularly real or not, unless it affects my life directly or affects my health, and then it might become a little bit too real. So that will get decided upon depending on how my higher mind feels about it, as I did recently over the Botox treatment that I was signed up for. I've decided to not go ahead. It was causing me too many issues with my trauma issues, just the mere thought of it. And that's not a reflection, by the way, on my wonderful urologist who really does, care and want the best for me and mean well, but I just decided it's not for me. So there is that. I'm too old and too tired and too fragile to take in any more toxins that could potentially go wrong for me. So I'm just too freaked out about it. So I have to go with my own body autonomy and integrity and accept getting older with decorum and grace and patience with myself, and heal slowly, but heal however that healing manifests. Sometimes healing is the long, slow ride to death too, to be realistic about it at 60 years of age. But I just feel like I don't want any more interventions. I just don't. Not if I can possibly avoid them. It's too much for my body, mind and spirit to take on at this point in time. So enough about me and my personal struggles with medicine and science and medical interventions. On we go and on we go. Let us begin. Chapter 13 of the 7 Types of Ambiguity by Elliot Perlman, or Perlman. You probably pronounce it Perlman. I have a habit to, Germanify things because my mother was, after all, German. So there's a reason why things that sound like they should be German get given German pronunciations. And same goes with French and Spanish and Italian, but my Italian and Spanish are a bit weak compared to my German and my French, you understand. And we won't mention my Elvish pronunciation, which got a bit tickety-boo at times too. But anyway, we'll stick to my usual quasi-Kiwi Australian accent and diction, enunciations, and it is what it is, people. Chapter 13. The need or striving for a sense of control is generally considered healthy. People's behaviour is often determined to a large extent by the amount of personal control the individual believes he or she has. Indeed, clinically depressed people do not attempt to alter their circumstances at all. That's true up to a point. And the longer they do not attempt to intervene, the greater their problems become. But here is the critical point. To be healthy, it must be their circumstances that they seek to change. There is no merit in attempting to control other people's lives. What Star Trek used to refer to as the prime directive, non-interference in planetary, cultures or behaviours or attitudes. Sort of that the same translating across to the individual, unless they're really harming themselves. Self-harming as in serious drug addiction or actual, mutilations of other kinds. Don't want to go too deep with that because it's painful to even think about, but people in pain do extraordinary things to themselves sometimes. Which I'm hoping to avoid. There is no merit. Why is it scathing hot in here? I've got it on 20. Oh God, drip this down on more. So, there is no merit in attempting to control other people's lives. I never counselled any kind of Machiavellian desperation. Simon came up with this on his own. In theory, we don't drum up business. Was he looking out at the street through the Venetian blinds when reason momentarily turned away from him, as though it had become as tired of him as he had himself? Reason has always been an early riser. It's always the first to leave. To be honest, it was not really a flight from reason so much as a perverse confluence of events. Simon learnt from Angelique that your husband had an early meeting nearly every morning, but there was one particular morning that especially interested him, the morning of the day you were to fly out for your conference. If the meeting had been later, Simon could not have left a message for your husband without speaking to him. If Angelique had not woken him for breakfast, he might have been too late, but it was all as if it were on some kind of just-in-time schedule. Your husband was having a busy time, often working late, always starting early. You remember? Why don't you ever ask anybody questions? Well, I suppose you will now. Think about it. It's a depressed market. They're not going to pay people to work those kind of hours anymore, and you don't earn commission if the phone doesn't ring. There was no busy time at all, except maybe with Angelique. But he did have a breakfast meeting that morning. Simon assures me that one day, Well-dressed people will start having breakfast at home again. But the dollar had been up to no good while your husband was with Angelique. It went down on him through the floor, and this necessitated a lot of urgent consultation. There is apparently an excess of coffee, but a shortage of croissants at these breakfast meetings, Angelique tells us. More importantly, Simon knew from her exactly when your husband would be unable to receive calls, so he could leave a message for him without the risk of speaking to him. A message ostensibly on your behalf. Your husband could have called you back and been put straight at any time throughout the day. Or you could have really called him to clarify something, or even just to say goodbye again, to say anything. Simon would not have known. He was taking a risk, but when you think about it, what was he really risking? After all, what would have happened if your husband had not received Simon's message and had arrived at the school in time to pick Sam up? In the event your husband didn't call you, he didn't need to. He had everything straight already. Pick up Sam from school, take him to dinner at your parents', pick him up at lunchtime on Saturday, leave some money out for the housekeeper. The shopping had been done. It was only for a weekend. And you didn't call him either. Calls during work are kept to a minimum. Instructions are issued in the morning, and they tend not to be queried in the absence of any major ambiguity. You had your briefcase and your overnight bag already packed, sitting in the boot of the car at the bottom of the tower where you work. You could go directly from drinks to the airport. You weren't going to call him during the day. Not this day. Simon has yet another theory about children I haven't mentioned, theory number 6017, which I would say has almost no validity, but which, yet again, I found interesting. This one he formulated on the basis of his observations from the perimeter of a school ground, but I don't think he really accepts it. It has all the hallmarks of a psychological theory, doesn't it? He says that, as a rule of thumb, one can correlate the amount of time a child spends on the school premises after the final bell has rung for the day with the degree of domestic dislocation to which the child is subjected. Why is a child still at school after school hours? If he or she is being detained on account of bad behaviour, who is the child rebelling against or emulating? If the child is receiving extra tuition, why is it that he or she isn't able to learn at the same rate as the others? If he or she is loitering around the grounds after hours, perhaps home is an unpleasant place to be. It's pretty simplistic stuff, and as I said, I don't really think he really believes it. What about after-school sport? And what about art, craft, music, drama, and smoking behind the bike sheds? All of this attracts them to school, for many a cross between a temple and a marketplace. This is where it all happens, and we must be careful not to discount the importance to them of these things merely because we have forgotten about so much that was important to us. There are brightly painted red and white posts that designate the beginning and end of children's crossings. Have you noticed how each of these posts subtly comes to a point, but somehow it's not sharp? We can touch it, a palpable manifestation of our collective anxiety for our children. The wire mesh fence inclines towards the school building with lush green foliage on the inside of it, forming a raised plantation ideal for jungle warfare and general hiding. The building itself is in different sections. The central part is just over 100 years old, with reddy brown bricks, white window frames, and a roof of slate tiles rising to a spire. Next to this are extensions such as the library, with much lower roofs and brick of different shades of red, reflecting subsequent spasms of public funding. There is a sign on the wall of the library just below the guttering which reads, "Warning, keep off. This roof has a security camera connected direct to a security company. Trespassers can expect immediate arrest." Out of the highest external brick wall comes a two-tiered wooden fire escape leading to an asphalt basketball court. There is an old rusted ring at each end, but no backboards. Do boys play netball? Beside the court is a big green dump bin surrounded by smaller silver rubbish bins, some of which are chained to each other. Others are dented, having been used at critical times to demarcate one area from another. Not far from the bins, excuse my New Zealand accent, are the cricket nets, the wire sagging at the ends, and next to them the small concrete field for the teacher's car park. The classrooms are of different sizes, each with a different feel inside according to the age of the class and the age of its teacher. Some have tiny plastic tables facing the blackboard and wooden chairs with denim and gingham chair bags hanging from them. Others are lined with collages of animals, fashion models, and dairy products. There are charts, where rain comes from, where the sun goes. Nothing else sounds like the bell, and the children spill out on its instruction at a rate that bears no relation to their individuality, which, if you attempt to ignore in any other context, will only confound you further. In the seconds before the bell rings, the parents, grandparents, and assorted guardians mill around the fence near the gate. They don't come in. Some talk, others just wait. 'Tis interesting that children of the same ages are met by adults of such different ages and backgrounds. Young women and much older men from southern Europe, the Pacific, and Southeast Asia. How old are the children before they refuse to be hugged in front of their peers? How young are they when the accent of a waiting guardian engenders a shame they will, years later, remember with a fresh and much richer shame? I had both of that with my mother's strong German accent and the fact that my peers in school thought she was old enough to be my grandmother, since she had me when she was 38, and in the early 70s it was very unusual to have, much older geriatric mothers. It's common now, because the last 20 years or so people have held off having their children till quite late in life, prioritising their careers, but in my generation, most mothers were young in their early 20s. So I would get teased mercilessly. Oh, there's your mother. Why does she talk funny? Why is has your grandmother's come to pick you up? And the fights that we had. The fights were phenomenal, people there. I've been a fighter all my life. Never started a fight in my life, but I've finished every motherfucking one. And so it remains even in my now very early 60s. 60 and a half as of 4 days ago. Can you believe 6 months has already gone past since I turned 60? It feels like a blink and it's gone. It's astonishing, people, really. Right. Some of the children are not met by anyone. They might walk home alone or in groups. They try each other's bikes. Perhaps they're going to meet a parent at work. I was a latchkey kid as a child too. That part I didn't mind at all because my idiot parents weren't home and I could do what I wanted, but it was a bit scary coming at home alone sometimes when I was only 9 and 10 and 11, 12 and 13 and 14 and 15. For fuck's sake, seriously. But anyway, some of them are in no hurry to end the day's commerce. They hang around. Ball games start and children of all different sizes are lost to them. There's a kid with crazy eyes and a big bag of marbles smoothing the ground in front of him. What's going on here? Doesn't affect me. He's wearing a black t-shirt emblazoned with the image of a steroid-enriched bodybuilder, naked to the waist, clutching an assault rifle. The kid holds a marble in the air between his thumb and forefinger and calls out, "Hit it and you'll win it," in a slow, dragging voice as though he was selling papers. The teacher's car park is emptying of its small red, white and yellow cars. The younger women, fresh from Teachers' College, are getting into cars decorated with furry cartoon characters wrapped around the rear view mirrors and stickers on the back advertising radio stations now in liquidation and seaside resorts the young women went to with their slightly older young men in bigger cars. The kid with the crazy eyes has a small crowd of boys in front of him. Hit it and you win it. Sam was thinking about it. He stood with his, trying to do a Melbourne accent. I've forgotten it. I used to have one when I was a child. Can you believe it? Don't think I'll ever get it back now. He stood with his hands in his pockets, watching the other boys, some of them older. His school bag was on the ground and he wasn't looking for anyone. Sam! He heard his name called but ignored it. He was watching the boys and the marbles. Hit it and you win it. Sam! Simon called again. Sam turned round. Do you remember me? He shook his head. Oh. No, I gave the right head shake. Simon then says, Yes, you do. Do you remember that awful day when you fell in the pool at home? You're the gardener, he said. Yes, I'm the gardener. Do you like to play marbles? Yes, sometimes, Sam answered, looking back at the others. Listen, Sam, you know your mum won't be picking you up today? Yes, Dad will. Well, he was going to, Sam, but he can't now. He's got something at his work that is going to make him late home. He asked me to come and tell you that and to look after you. Is that okay? Yes. Do you like chocolate milk? I do. Simon knows about empty school grounds, about looking in them for someone, calling out with a dry mouth and a machine gun pulse. Your husband would have looked everywhere. He would have gone through his pockets looking for the message in the hand of someone else's secretary, the message from you that Simon had left for him, telling him that Sam was on an excursion and would be back late. It wouldn't have helped anything to have found it, but he would have felt he needed to see it. Without it, he would have wondered whether he had dreamed the whole thing. You can imagine. The walk becomes a nervous trot. Can you picture it? He is still trying to deny what is happening. He loosens his tie and then he runs unashamedly in terror. Nothing can prepare him for this. He cries his son's name to stop the world. You must know all of this by now. Chapter 14. As you can see, I'm a little bit triggered by that because kidnapping of children is an evil violation for everyone concerned, in particular the child. Angelique was looking for the use-by date on a packet of drinking chocolate. The cupboard was filled with tins of soup, chocolate canned fruit, and packets of mashed potato, much of which she had bought for him over the last few months. There were some saucepans in the kitchen sink with the remnants of tin soup congealing on their sides. She was pleased to see this. It showed that he was getting through the supplies. There were some newspapers piled up on the floor and some empty bottles stacked neatly in a row beside the rubbish bin. There were not as many as there used to be. "When did you buy this drinking chocolate?" she called to Simon in the lounge room. "He doesn't want hot chocolate. There's some chocolate topping in there somewhere near the front. I bought it yesterday," he called back. "I was making it for us, but if it's stale, I'll throw it out. I didn't know drinking chocolate went off, but maybe the new improved stuff comes with state-of-the-art environmentally vindictive obsolescence." "You can't stop progress, you know. Can't stop anything," he added quietly. She boiled some milk to go with the chocolate topping for 2 mugs of hot chocolate and poured some more chocolate topping into a glass with ice cream and milk. There seemed to be so much milk. "I don't know what these will be like. I've never made hot chocolate from topping before," she said, carrying all 3 of the drinks into the lounge room and placing them on the coffee table. The television was on but turned low, almost inaudible. Sam was lying on the carpet with a pillow underneath his head and a blanket over him. Empson was asleep next to him. Angelique sat down next to Simon with her hot chocolate. "Do you know what you're doing?" she asked. "I'm not certain I do. People who are certain they know what they're doing are very dangerous. I'm not dangerous." "You're crazy, Simon. What do you think is going to come of this? Nothing good. You know that." Simon put his mug down and got up to adjust the blanket around Sam. He knelt on the floor and made sure no part of him was uncovered below his chin. "Angel, you're probably right, but like the guy said when he jumped off the Rialto building and got to the 20th floor, so far, so good." She smiled weakly. Empson sighed. The television showed a police car in a narrow alley. She looked around the room for so long, a cave of inert chaos, now sparely littered with several neat piles of mess, newspapers and books mostly. Her gaze came to rest on Simon with your sleeping son beside him. "I want you to know I love you, Simon. I know everything you've said. I know I am forewarned, as you say. But please know it, remember it, no matter what. I love you, even though I know you're crazy. You're the softest man I've ever met. Too soft. He's smarter than you," she said, pointing to Sam, still sleeping. "He may well prove to be smarter than me. He's already a lot wiser. They're going to find him here. You know they will. They'll figure it out," she said. They'll find him happy and safe if they do, with a chocolate moustache. What do you mean, if? They will find him. It's just a question of how soon. They'll both be frantic. It's not going to take them long. She got up and went over to him on the floor. He held her in his arms and they looked at your beautiful son gently breathing half into the pillow. I'm trying to wonder why my asthma's a bit triggered. And it's the smell of naphthalene from the clothes. I threw them straight in the washing machine, but it doesn't take long for my lungs to arc up. They're still lovely clothes and they're a lovely gift, but I really, my body really dislikes even a slight waft of naphthalene or mothballs. When will they find him? They won't be that fast, he said in a low voice. The emotions are not skilled workers. She repeated the line to herself after a moment's thought. Is it Elliot? She asked. He shook his head. Dylan Thomas? No, Yates, isn't it? No, he answered, running his fingers through her hair. Who wrote that? The emotions are not skilled workers. She put her head in his lap. That's a story in itself, Angel. It is a beautiful line, isn't it? Attributed to a man who never said it, by two men who wrote it, and then pretended they were a third man who never existed. Wait just a minute. Start again. Tell me slowly. She closed her eyes and repeated softly. The emotions are not skilled workers. In 1944, he began, a very young editor of a fairly radical literary-cum-arts journal received a letter from a woman enclosing a couple of poems she had found while going through her late brother's things. Poems, she said, her brother had written and never shown her. Her brother was born in Liverpool toward the end of the First World War, and when his father died of war wounds, a couple of years later, the family moved to Australia. His mother had family here. They lived in Sydney, where he went to school till he was 15, when his mother died. He hadn't done very well, and his sister was powerless to keep him from leaving school and getting a job in a garage at Taverners Hill. He kept the job for a couple of years, but became restless and moved to Melbourne when he was about 17. His sister didn't hear much from him for a long time. Eventually, someone she knew met him and reported back. They told her he was living in a room by himself somewhere in South Melbourne by the sea. They said he was selling insurance. Worried about his health, he had always been frail. She wrote to him to re-establish contact, but didn't receive a reply for quite a long while. Finally, she got a letter from him. It was 1940. The war was still young. He wrote that his health had improved and that he was making some money repairing watches and doing odd jobs. After that, She didn't hear from him again until the year he came back to Sydney, the year he turned 25. She got him to come home, and it was then that she realised that he was ill, although his stamina concealed for a time the extent of his illness. Eventually he told her that he knew what was wrong, that he had Graves' disease. He said he would die from it. In the weeks before his death, his agitation and irritability gave way to a kind of calm, in which he would talk to his sister almost as a confessor. It seemed he had fallen in love with a woman in Melbourne, but it hadn't worked out. He was by now very weak and often incoherent. He died in the winter of that year. His sister found the poems some 6 months later while going through his effects. She showed them to a friend who thought they had something to them and that she ought to try and have them published. So, along with a covering letter and postage for their return, she sent them to the young editor. Now, literary editors who are at least half serious about their work and aren't just in the job because they didn't know what else to do with their lives, dream of receiving an unsolicited gem through the mail, a collection of words that can move them, that can excite a very positive response. This editor, who was only in his early 20s, was no different in this respect. But he was in other ways. For a start, he was a poet himself, but the poetry he was interested in was modern avant-garde. It wasn't accepted by the mainstream till much later. In addition to being a poet and a modernist, he was a crow-eater like you. A South Australian? Yes. He was born at Mount Gambier and later moved to Adelaide. If all of this didn't make him different enough to the establishment, he was also a Jew. So, you've got this possibly young modernist editor, a rural South Australian Jew, and he reads these poems written by a lonely young man without much formal education, a man who knew he was dying. Imagine him, Angel, discovering gold. He shows his colleagues the poems the sister had almost not found, and it was decided that these poems ought to be published. And if any of you motherfuckers make fun of my gasping for air a la Ross Coulthart, I've seen how they make fun of him, clearly a fellow asthmatic, I will find you and rattle your chains to your dying days. It's not kind to make fun of someone who has a physical malaise. Just saying. I'm sure that'll get turned into a clip somewhere. Someone will profit by it, but not me. The violations of the Tanya, just keep rolling on. Rolling on. Wow. It's 'cause I'm so easy to tweak and pinch and Punch 'em, Violet, people of Earth. Alternatively, not so easy anymore. I'm holding my ground on planet Hellscape. Even harder these days now that I am older and circling that clockwise drain, or is it anti-clockwise in the southern hemisphere, where the waters of life are slowly ebbing away. However, the Manatee has a way of surviving and thriving that can astonish kings and scientists and the common man and homicidal maniacs for decades, people of Earth. The gods might be crazy, but I'm their favourite chosen one. It's not always fun for me either. Trust me on that. But where were we? Having a little tantrum. Happens from time to time. What were their names? The poet and his sister, spoken by Angelique, I might add. Ethel and Ern Malley. Not such romantic names, but then they never existed, either of them. They were the products of the collective imagination of two more conventional poets of the time who claimed to have set up the whole thing as a hoax, as a kind of experiment. Excuse me, I have to burp now. Wheeze and burp, throw a tantrum, carry on, nothing to see here, trying not to die. Sometimes quite literally. Right. They believed that by promoting modernism and poetry, the journal and particularly the young editor were promoting poetry which was bereft of any meaning, structure and craftsmanship. They regarded modernist poets as nothing more than con artists. The hoax was an experiment to determine whether the critics who lavished praise on this kind of poetry were capable of distinguishing it from deliberately concocted nonsense. They invented Ethel and Ern Malley and Ern's life story as part of the experiment. The poems themselves were said to have been produced in one afternoon by the two poets through the random choosing of words and phrases from whatever books they happened to have lying around, such as the concise Oxford Dictionary, a dictionary of quotations, and some American report on the drainage of the breeding grounds of mosquitoes. They had Ern Malley attribute to Lennon the line, "The emotions are not skilled workers," but this was also false. The Ern Malley hoax, as it became known, was reported in the mainstream press around the country and ultimately in the London Times and Time magazine. Poetry was on everybody's lips. I just have to be a bit silly there, don't mind me. People all over the English-speaking world delighted in the humiliation of the modernists. I can't always be serious. Just allow me a little bit of latitude, people. Got to have some fun before I die. Delighted in the humiliation of the modernists, whom they had never previously heard of, but whose denigration, it seemed, gladdened their hearts. reminds me of someone. The editor was made a laughing stock, and worse was yet to come. In late 1944, 7 of the Ern Malley poems were deemed by the South Australian police to be indecent advertisements, and the edition carrying them was alleged to be indecent, immoral, or obscene. The young editor was charged and put on trial. As insane as it may sound, he was found guilty. He looked down at the part of her face that was exposed. "What is it, Angel? Does my memory frighten you, or have I bored you to tears?" She was crying silently. He held her closer against his chest. She took deep breaths, trying to get the air past her throat. Empson and Sam exhaled almost in time with each other. They were, all of them, on the floor in one corner of the room. The television showed the flag of an oil company blowing in the wind. This is how it all looked, and this is what you would have heard in the last moment before the door was kicked in. They pushed it in with one kick, although it was locked. There were 3 of them, uniformed police, 2 men and a woman, with a warrant for Simon's arrest. They didn't need to kick the door in. He would have opened it. But it's their favourite thing to do, don't you know? By the time he got to Simon's place, I threw that bit in. That wasn't in the story. Just ask me how I know. By the time they got to Simon's place, you would have been well and truly contacted. Your husband would have reached you by then. How did you feel? I have never been paged at an airport. You know how it is. It's always someone else. Chapter 15. So this is where we are now, all of us separate people. William has been calling me, but I haven't returned the calls. He hasn't gone to see Simon yet. He's got to blame somebody before he does anything else. First things first, he's got me in his sights. And why not? He's got to get something out of this. I think he knows he can't get his money back. I don't have it. We drank it at the Esplanade. He probably wants me deregistered, if not arrested. It had occurred to me that it would not be possible for Simon to get you out of his system without actually seeing you again, without establishing contact. My thinking was, with respect, that you could not help but disappoint him now. This would have hurt him very much in the short run, might even have driven him back to his darkened bedroom. But after a while, his despair over the reality of you, as opposed to the idealization of you, would evaporate. And with it a lot of other things. I told him this. I think he was coming around. I think it could have helped him. You could have, just by being the person you are, with whatever fears and weaknesses you have, just like the rest of us. You could have told him you remember it all fondly, at least that. It would not have taken much. He nearly called you several times. You weren't to know. He nearly called you last night. They really do get one phone call, like on television or in the movies. He was scared. He called me. He said he didn't know whether they were going to keep him in the lockup or send him to the Melbourne Assessment Prison, so I don't know exactly where he's going to be after today. I don't know how they knew where to find Sam so quickly either. There's a lot I don't know. But I do know that your son had never been in less danger. And I also know that you're the only one who can help Simon now. You're the only one that can save him. Simon told me as much just now on the phone. He said, you've got to tell them that he is your lover, that he had your permission to take Sam. That is the only course that can save him. Why would you want to save him? Because he's ill and because he's never stopped loving you. Among other things, he is ill because he's never stopped loving you. I'm not saying you owe him anything beyond that, which we all owe each other, but when we are all finished being told that everyone out there must take responsibility for himself, what's it like when we get home? What's it like inside? He had been cast out and he had never done anything wrong till now. You think it would be the end of everything to help him like this, but it would only be the end of some things. What are you going to do? You're involved. You are finally involved after all these years. And there is no way out of it. There are a few people you can help now. I nearly called you last night. And thus concludes part 1 of 7 types of ambiguity. I'll break up this video here. I may come back and continue with part 2 this evening. I may not. It was rather intense and I'm a little bit tired. Shall we flog a dead Mama T? A zombie Mama T? Outlived all my enemies by the grace of the gods and my own sweet, stoic, defiant, courageous determination. By the gods, it's an art form and a thing of beauty and creativity. And it's, as they say en français, formidable, babies. Anyway, on that note, I've had a beautiful day, another beautiful day, for which I am grateful, and the gods are watching, apparently listening to us, but the Mama T always knew that. That's why she always kept good communication with the gods, and blessed be from sacred space at Titania's realm, wherever you are in the space-time continuum here on planet Earth. Stay free, stay wild, stay joyous, rejoice in your own spirit, soul, mind, body, emotions and intellect. Be the best version of you, with harm to none and competition with none, so it is done, baby boys and baby girls. And remember, space rocks hurtle towards us and America devolves into some kind of madness with all that's going on there, and Australia ain't so crash hot either. That I adjure you as always to never ever let the bastards grind us down. Bye for now.